Hi, my name is Bram Verniest. I'm Chief Evangelist at CHILIpulse. And today with me we have Chris Doe. Hi Chris.
Hi, Ram.
Earlier today on stage, because we are at Create, our community event for the creatives, you described yourselves as a loud creative, which I found very, very nice. But maybe for the few people that don't know you, you have a large following on the internet, social media, maybe introduce yourself,
Sure.
who you are, what do you do?
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Doe. I'm a loud introvert. I'm a recovering graphic designer. I'm a first-generation immigrant, a above-average student, but a first-class troublemaker. I'm deeply passionate about education, and I'm using all the ideas and influence that I have to help educate other people and democratize what it is that we do so they can make a living doing what they love.
Super, well, nice to have you here on the CHILIpulse podcast. You revert to, during your speech today, you just had a speech on the main stage. You said that technology is moving as fast as it ever has and as slow as it ever will. Could you maybe, for the people that weren't here at the conference, could you summarize what are your insights on your presentation that you believe could shift the perspective of creatives to basically embrace creative technology into their workflow?
Yeah, happy to. I'm a proponent for change, for innovation, and for technological advances, and almost by default, because I know that if we resist it, there's nothing that I can do. So the analogy I like to make with people is when a big wave comes, you have two choices. You learn how to surf or you learn how to drown. And those are the two things. And people have made a mistake trying to fight the future. The future always wins. The future is undefeated. It's going to happen with or without you. So we prefer to help prepare creatives to take advantage of the technological advances that are happening right now. And you only have to look backwards and the whole forwards and backwards thing. If you look forward, the moment right now will feel really slow compared to like what you're seeing happening. And we can see that with the internet, with the iPhone, smart computers, our smartphones. And then, but if we look backwards, like when we look back at horse-drawn carriages and things like that, it seems like, okay, that's pretty slow. So it depends on which direction in which you look in. And we've, as creatives, have always been empowered by emerging technologies. Yeah. This one is unlike any other technological advances happened. It's not like a camera or digital tools that we can use. This is on a whole exponential level higher. But I think creatives, especially who seem to champion virtues like being curious, being explorers, being rebels and anti-conformists, I'm not quite sure why in this case there seems to be such reticence to embrace new concepts.
Is it maybe because when we're looking at generative AI, it comes into their arsenal of tools that we thought that they were very special?
Yes.
And we don't know it because we're in the midst of the wave, as you call it. And I think we need to see how good it will get. If it will replace certain creative designs that people make, do you think that is maybe a big influence because it gets very visual?
Yes. It's going to impact a lot of people in the middle.
Yeah.
When we look at it, when we look at the bell curve, the inverse bell curve, the bell curve goes like that, the inverse one goes like this, that the people towards the middle almost always suffer the most.
Yeah.
So if you're the idea person, if you're the brand builder, the influencer, you're going to do just fine, the thought leader. And if you're actually in high touch things that are human to human, you're okay too. So it's kind of weird. The jobs that seem most vulnerable today are actually the most resilient to AI. But the ones in the middle, the soft skills in the middle, where we talk about creation, production, editing, ideation, writing, the people in that space right now need to learn how to move to the left or to the right. Otherwise, they'll get swallowed up. Never get good at doing something that a machine can do better and faster and cheaper than you. This is a problem. And if we're sending the warning signals out right now, you've made a choice today that will impact you tomorrow.
Yeah. So they need to learn to embrace technology and indeed look or to the left or to the right, because you might shift to one or both sides.
Yes. I look at these tools merely as tools to enhance human productivity, creativity, and even just allowing us to have free time. one of those things that I really try to champion for people is you need to make money because money buys you time. That's what money allows you to do.
Yeah.
What you do with your time is up to you. If you want to spend it with your parents, with your siblings, with your partner, or your children, or you just want to work on self-development or travel, that's a good thing. So we're trying to make more money so that we can buy our time back. But there's a different path that gets us to more time for ourselves that doesn't involve money at all. So if you're able to do a task that you're doing today in 1/10 the time, you get to decide what you want to do with the 9 hours that remain.
Yeah.
I think that's a really powerful idea. And why wouldn't we embrace that? Why are we fighting that?
True. Probably because people inherently, some people inherently, they fear change.
Yes?
Because they, like you said on stage, they fear their job. But
Yeah.
Do you have practical advice on how these people that are looking at it they fear, how they can integrate it in a very practical way? What would probably you have spoken to designers, to operators, how they could integrate these tools, these mindsets on a day-to-day basis?
I think people are already using AI tools and they don't even understand that they're using them.
Yeah.
So if we look at those things, then I think it'll make a lot more sense why I'm so pro AI. Photoshop for a long time has used some kind of intelligence to cut things out.
Yeah.
That's not a task that any human should be doing. And in fact, I'm almost disappointed that it's not great already. But it's getting really good, right? And in those of you that are old enough to know this, version Photoshop 1.0 or 2.0,
Guilty.
it was painful. If you tried to cut out hair or grass or some things that had translucency, you're using channels and a bunch of different layer techniques to get something decent, and you would spend hours doing that. Okay, so Photoshop has mostly made that process fairly easy. No one's crying over it. No one says, you took my rotoscoping job away.
Yeah.
And now Photoshop or Adobe has come out with generative fill, which is an amazing time saver. If there's something in the scene that's bothering you, or what is more likely the use case, let's say you went out and took a photo like horizontal landscape, and now you need to make a vertical image for a social media asset.
Yeah.
This happens all the time to us. We're screwed now because top of the head's missing, parts of the arms, all kinds of things are missing. But with AI-based tools, all of a sudden now we can see beyond that, and all that really time-intensive labor is now gone in a second.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't think anybody's complaining about that either. So what we need to do is we need to expand beyond the concept of what the tool is doing, but what it's doing for us. If we can get on board with that, then I think we're okay.
Super. Future's bright.
I believe so.
When we're looking at these tools, what is your look on, can we include them in the value stack? Do you see them as time savers for the people using it? Or can you also use them in their value stack or the value that they sell to their customers?
When I was growing up, there was a TV show, I think the character's name was Steve Austin, and he was the Bionic Man. It was like a $16 million project. So he's a pilot, and he crashed, and they rebuilt him. So he's half cyborg and half human, and it was just an incredible thing just to think about it. He had a bionic eye to make a funny sound like he would zoom in on you. And I was thinking, that's so cool. So we're now living in a time and age where everyday people can afford these kinds of, I think, rocket science technology for $15 or $2 a month, whatever the cost is for these things. And it's incredible to me. Why would we not use these things to help ourselves? So we can now do things we've not done before. We can also do things with greater efficiency and precision. So let's take it in like a real world example. Let's just say you're going to design an identity system for one of your clients. What's the old way of doing this? You'd go on the internet, you'd do a little bit of research, you'd read a few reviews, you'd conduct a couple of interviews. That's the extent to which you can do for a small to medium-sized business. You don't have access to McKinsey or any of these Forrester research to come up with data. People pay tens of thousands of dollars to get that data. And I've always been jealous of them that they can afford that. So the really big firms have all these people, researchers, marketers, strategists, copywriters working for them, so that when they present their ideas, it's built on solid research and analytics and understanding consumer and customer behavior and insights. Now you can do, if you're just smart enough, and learn how to type that prompt into ChatGPT, and you feed it specific information, demographics, target audience, user sentiment, and it will generate the profile. It will tell you a lot about them. So if we use this correctly, not only will it help you to create more meaningful campaigns that can create transformation for your client, but I think it can build greater empathy for people that aren't like us. Because when you read a buyer persona of somebody you've never met in your real life and you see what their wants and needs are, I think that's the beginning of empathy. And maybe we can reduce some of the hostility that's existing right now.
Yeah.
So for sure, it can help you do what you're doing better, faster, but it also can allow you to do things you couldn't do before.
Yeah. And that will add to the value stack of people that are designed. So they move away from the center of the bell curve to
Yes.
more added value on the sides.
Yes.
Yeah. As the landscape of the creation shifts with AI, what strategies would you suggest to creators to help them to stay competitive, to stay relevant in this area?
I love using AI for brainstorming. I don't know about you. Sometimes it's 2 a.m. for me. I'm working on something. I've lost perspective on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Or I feel like the creative well has run dry. I can use AI to brainstorm and bounce ideas. I can ask it to generate ideas based on themes. I can explore ideas really quickly. Like, what if Shakespeare wrote like a Marvel superhero story based on Spider-Man or something else? What would that look like? That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So we can do mashups. Kirby Ferguson, who created this documentary film called Everything is a Remix, he talked about that. There's very few things that are actually new. They're just remixes of old familiar concepts because that's what we humans like. We hear something familiar, but something's off, and it feels very new and fresh that way. The example would be like if you heard an acoustic cover of a rock band that you love, you're like, wow, tempo's different, key's different, and delivery is different. It feels much more soulful, and that's a fresh take on an old idea. So why not use AI to help you generate new ideas that are combinations of old things? And I've seen some wonderful things done on the stage here and on the internet. People are really embracing this and just going to town. So inspiring for me.
And maybe to end on a more philosophical note,
Okay.
because AI, let's take ChatGPT as one example. It's been trained on the existing content of the internet today. More and more content is also generated by the same system. So what do you think, what my fear would be, that the creativity, the system will not grow, it will use the existing content that has been fed to the system. Aren't we depleting the creativity in the long run? Or what should we do as humans to make sure that we keep striving forward?
Okay. It's a great philosophical question to kind of understand. I listened to this podcast called Radio Lab, and they said that one of humans' concern is how destructive we are to the environment, and it's leading to the extinction of species. There are fewer species of animals, birds, insects, things like that than there ever were. But the scientist is, well, we're going to have designer kits where you can actually generate a new animal based on mixing of a bird and a kangaroo. Let's just say that's what you want. And they're already doing it right now with hybriding or mating two kinds of animals together, and they can create different animals, different fruits and vegetables. And that's a pretty wild concept, right? Like, what does a salamander look like that's like a squirrel? I don't know, but that would be really cool.
Yeah.
So that's a new thing, right? So that's a new creature, and maybe there's a debate about, is that God's role or is that an abomination of nature? I don't know. We can see it as new. So if we take it into the realm of ideas, even though the data set's the same, the mixing of different influence creates a third new thing. And then I believe the entire history of humanity is based on that. We just look at ourselves in a very self-important way and say, well, because a human came up with this, it's original. Not really.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's put that debate aside. The combination of old ideas actually is what we perceive as new ideas. And so AI, with the assistance of people, putting those two things together, is going to generate all kinds of wonderful things. Yeah. The kind of artwork that I've seen on Midjourney alone in the gallery view, I think surpasses many of the galleries I go to that are supposed to be like of established artists. And to me, it's like, it's really beautiful, remarkable work. And it's more imaginative than what humans do, because we want to see the world in our own image. AI has no such prejudice. The other part too is I believe there will always be space for people to contribute to that knowledge bank, so that even if that were the case, that would kind of be very derivative, that there's just copies of copies, that then there will be few people who will be feeding with new ideas. There was a gentleman who used to work at Google. He spoke out about AI. He's like, I could have used AI to write my next book, but I just wanted to contribute to the canon of human knowledge as opposed to have AI generate it for me so I can make some money. So I believe that's a beautiful sentiment. There would be composers, artists, writers, you name it. They will contribute new code to the source code. but the source coders will be making, on scales that we can't even fathom as human beings, new ideas.
Yeah. Well, that's a good note to end, and indeed, that the future is bright. I would like to thank you for being here on our podcast, CHILIpulse, and I hope you have a great stay in Brussels and a safe trip back.
Thank you very much. It was a real pleasure, and thanks for having me.
Thank you.